You know, I'm going to give you a history lesson.
We got some dumbass motherfuckers floating around this country.
Stop laughing! And when I do, start.
Also, y'all did some nasty-ass jokes on my ass, too.
Funny jokes and unfunny jokes come out of the same birth.
You f***ing guys are unbelievable.
Why are you laughing?
Evening, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Why You Laughing, a History of Comedy podcast. And today I'm pleased to introduce to you Steve Martin, a wild and crazy guy. His 1978 album. You might be wondering, Mike, you haven't done a Steve Martin album yet. Why not start with the first one? And I don't really have a good reason. I don't know why we didn't do that, I guess. For some reason, this one just called to me. And then I was like, maybe we should have started with Let's Get Small, but we'll get to that at some point. But I think the main reason I wanted to start with a wild and crazy guy is it is a fascinating piece of comedy history. I think it's really well done, the way that Steve Martin produced this album. And I'm kind of surprised how well, just technically, they were able to pull it off, given that it's 1978. So this was a massive album, reached double platinum, number 2 on the Billboard pop album charts, which for a comedy album is crazy. Like, that's insane, especially 1978, you know? I'm sure now, in terms of like popularity, ticket sales, I'm sure there are comedians that are, if not bigger than a lot of the big musical acts, certainly competing with them. But we've talked about it a million times on this program. Comedy just was not what it is now. Steve Martin was one of 4 or 5 acts of all time, you know, like prior to Dane Cook and social media and everything that happened in the age of the internet. It's really Steve Martin, Eddie Murphy, Dice, Kinison,
Cosby.
Yeah, like there's very few like major like arena level acts. It did not really exist a lot in comedy. So the barriers that Steve Martin broke are pretty incredible. And I think this album is a great barometer for that. So that's what we'll be getting into today. And it also made me just appreciate so much more what Steve Martin did, because I think a lot of people our age end up knowing him for movies. And in my generation in particular doesn't know him from his best movies necessarily. You know, you have to go back before we're born to get to The Jerk. And that's another thing about this album. You'll hear how massive he gets by the end of it. And this is before The Jerk. Right. So he's not even Steve Martin yet.
I don't know, Mike. Cheaper by the Dozen was quite popular.
I enjoyed what's the Peter Sellers Pink Panther that he was in?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. But yeah, like it's crazy the culmination of what this album represents. So I'm glad we're doing it today. We have done Steve Martin in the past. We did the career of Steve Martin. I would say numbers wise, not one of our more popular episodes, but those are usually my favorite. So I recommend you guys go check it out if you haven't heard it already and you're interested in more Steve Martin coverage. So go back to the archives, and the easiest way to navigate that is blindmike.net. We're a Spotify podcast now. They offered us $251 million. So
that's great.
So follow us on Spotify. That's a big deal. Like, comment, subscribe, leave a 5-star review. If you're watching this on YouTube, we premiere on YouTube every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. If you like us and comment there and subscribe there, it helps more people find the show. So share it and tell people about it, but also engage with the show. It helps get more eyeballs on this thing. And we appreciate you guys supporting the show for free, or you can become a member on Patreon or YouTube and you get early access and bonus content. If you wanted this episode last week, then you should have been a member. What can I tell you? So consider doing that. All those links are at blindmike.net. We appreciate you guys supporting the show. Thank you for doing that. So let's dive into it. As this is I can't think of any other album done this way, because Craig had not heard it before, and he goes, "Are you sure you have the right album? Because it sounds different at the end." And in 1978, again, especially audio only recordings, this sort of artistic style wasn't really done. So what Steve Martin pulled off is now what you see in 10 million different specials. But it starts in San Francisco in the same comedy club that he did his previous special, Let's Get Small, which is certainly symbolic. So let's start there.
Well, thank you very much. Great to be here for the closing night show here at what is this? Is this San Francisco? Okay, been here for 2 weeks, and this is the closing night. We'll do 2 shows tonight, and I'm really looking forward to it. So, so let's get going, huh? I mean, I think there's nothing better for a person to come out and do the same thing over and over for 2 weeks. This is what I enjoy, so I'm just going to do the same thing over and over and over. And I think rather than do it just twice, I think I'm going to do it over and over. I'm going to do the same joke over and over in the same show. This will be like a new thing. Looking for a little different kind of thing tonight. So this would be good. Okay. Hey, I'm not trying to be a big shot or anything like that, but I get my drinks half price. That's right. For every one you buy, I get 2. So I can just have about as much as I want, you know what I mean? And it doesn't affect me.
So brilliant to be able to pull that off in audio form. Like, that's incredible to pull off that joke. And again, I always wonder, I would like to talk to comics from that era that had albums of this level to know whether or not they said like, fuck it, I do this joke and it works, so the people listening to audio are gonna have to deal with it, or if there was thought going into it of how precise you have to be to have that come across on an album, you know, because that is pretty incredible that we both laughed. Like, that's a hilarious joke, you know exactly what happens, so to pull that off in audio form is wildly impressive. And that's what really stood out to me about A Wild and Crazy Guy with Steve Martin, is that his delivery is so perfect for deconstructing comedy the way he did, because at this point, like throughout the history of comedy, which like stand-up as we know it had really only existed for 25 years or so at this point, 30, whatever you want to say. And people were used to this very formulaic, like it was very rigid, what the boundaries of comedy would let you do. You know, a lot of Take My Wife, Play Cat Scales and that sort of shit. And you had like guys like Lenny Bruce on the fringes, but he never rose to any massive success, really. So what you have here is a guy showing you what comedy could be, like these different avenues you could go down. And he's playing like a dickhead asshole character. Like, he doesn't really want to be there. He's making fun of the art form that he himself is performing, but he has the perfect delivery to make that relatable to an audience that isn't really used to see it. I think he's different. That's what separated him from Andy Kaufman, and I think made him a lot more palatable to people, was his delivery. That Steve Martin kind of had that Simpsons factor where idiots could appreciate a certain aspect of Steve Martin's act. You know what I mean? Like, there's one angle you could take Steve Martin at and go, oh, he's really goofy and funny. And then there's a more cerebral element that a different type of audience could like and appreciate.
Next, we have Great to Be Here.
Okay, let's see. I assume this is more of the same tone.
I have had a lot of fun since I've been here. I do like coming to San Francisco because it is an intellectual town, and that's kind of what I'm into. I dig the intellectual kind of thing, and I had a good time since I've been here. I know that sounds phony because every entertainer in the world comes out, no matter where they are, they go, hey, it's really great to be here. And it really sounds fake, but I am sincere when I say, hey, it's really great to be here.
That's why I love in The Office, they made Michael Scott's favorite comedian, Steve Martin. He says, I used to think that the worst day of my life would be the day Steve Martin died, but it's not, it's this. So, like, the reason I love that is they didn't pick a terrible comedian or who's perceived as a like the obvious joke would be like, oh, Michael Scott is a Dane Cook fan or whatever. You know what I mean? Like some obvious, someone an idiot, like, you know?
Yeah, an obscure pick.
Right. But the reason I like that they go with Steve Martin is exactly that, where it's like Michael Scott doesn't realize he's an idiot. He picks a smart comedian, and that's how he kind of sees himself, and that's why I appreciate the character that Steve Martin's playing. And what happens to a lot of those guys is it ends up getting dated, because if you go listen to this album and see how many influences were spawned from this, like how many little droplets of other comedians you see that came from this style that was not done really before Steve Martin existed.
Yeah, and then this type of special, like filmed in multiple spots. I know, like Chris Rock did one in Dave Attell.
Yeah,
but it's not very common though.
I think now it is more, just because people are looking for ways to
look different,
make their special stand out in some way. You know what I mean? Yeah, But yeah, you're right. It was not really copied a lot. But the reason I like Chris Rock did it because, and it's the one where it's in, I think, like 4 different locations: it's Johannesburg, London,
DC,
New York. Yeah, something like that. And the reason Chris Rock does that shit, he says, with every special, there needs to be a new function, a new gadget. There has to be something different that makes people go, why am I watching this as opposed to his last special? What separates this? He wants to put a new twist on it. With Steve Martin, there is like meaning, there's symbolism behind why he does this, which I really appreciate. It wasn't just like, oh, let me be weird. There's something that it represents that I like, that it gets to.
Let me just be weird as fuck.
Yeah, it wasn't being weird for being weird's sake, which I think a lot of other guys, like I said, that like Steve Martin have done since then.
I wish he would, though. That'd be pretty funny. I just wanted it to be wacky. Although he'd probably come out and say that as part of a bit.
Exactly. Yeah.
Next we got books.
Okay. And this is again where like there's layers to Steve Martin's comedy, where there's very smart jokes and very dumb jokes all mixed into one.
I have a book coming out. I'm pretty proud of that. I'm getting more out of the comedy, more into the serious. There's a little child there. Hi. How old is that little child? 2? Got a joke for him. These 2 lesbians are walking down the street. Anyway, I do have a book coming out. It's kind of a serious work for me, and I hope you pick it up. It's called How to Get Along with Everyone. And I didn't write it by myself. I wrote it with this other asshole jerk off. But I have a couple other books. I did Bad Banana on Broadway. How many people read that? Just a few. Ceremony for a Fat Lip. Did you read that? Oh, I did Renegade Nuns on Wheels, Dykes on Fire, and How to Make Money Off the Mentally Ill. This was a big one. How I turned $1 million in real estate into $25 in cash.
He goes on. He has like 15 more examples. And by the way, when I say I'm self-conscious now because I don't want people to think I'm talking about them. When I say you can be an idiot and like Steve Martin, I'm including myself in that, by the way, just to be clear. And what I mean by that is like there's an element where Steve Martin's a very rare breed where you can turn your brain off and enjoy him, or you can be really get in the weeds and dissect what he's saying and enjoy it. And there's not a lot of guys that have both gears in their comedy.
Next, that reminded me, you know Drew Dunn?
Yes. Yeah.
So when I was doing stand-up, he was starting at the same time. Obviously, he had a much better
2 peers.
Yeah, 2 peers. But we were doing a show where the Quincy live show was supposed to be.
Okay.
For some reason, there was like a 2-year-old at the show.
Okay.
And he was in the middle of doing this Scottish bit, and he noticed the kid was there. And in his Scottish accent, just went and started telling the kid how much of a cunt his mom was for bringing him.
It's a little more direct than, I guess that's what I mean when I say there's layers, is that's pretty much what Steve Martin did with a little more tact.
Yes, but it was very funny.
Yeah.
Next we have philosophy.
All right, let's hear it.
But I am into the intellectual thing. I went to college. I studied the great philosophers, Socrates. I I studied Plato, and you learn the important things. Like if you're studying geology, which is all facts, as soon as you get out of school, you forget it all, because it's just numbers and things. But philosophy, you remember just enough to screw you up for the rest of your life. When you study the important, like ethical questions, is it okay to yell movie in a crowded firehouse? Religious questions, does the Pope shit in the woods? Keep waiting sometime, oh, if there is a God, give me a sign. See, I told you that the wouldn't it be weird if you died and you woke up and you were in heaven, just like they always told you? Everybody had wings on and pearly gates. Wouldn't you feel stupid? Oh no! You mean that this is what? Oh! In college, they said this was all bullshit. Oh, well, I'll just come in and what? You've been keeping records on me? Well, it wasn't so bad. How many times did I take the Lord's name in vain? Ooh, 1,000,006. Jesus Christ.
I think too, what you hear there when he says the great philosophers like Socrates, like he had a quality that I think a lot of people have abandoned or forgotten now. Like you don't see it enough in comedy. People want you to know that they are the smart one in their story, or they are the protagonist in their story. They're the good person. Steve Martin had an ability to make himself the idiot in all of these stories. And anyone who understood his comedy, which again, that wasn't even that hard a joke to understand. Steve Martin just relied on the audience to know, like, you guys get that I'm fucking around here. you, and if you don't, I don't really give a shit. But you understand that I am the idiot in this joke. You know what I mean? Like, you allow the audience to be like, oh, he's fucking around. He's actually much smarter than that. That's how he had the ability to make that joke. Now people want to like just beat you over the head with, no, I'm the hero of this story actually. And let me make fun of the idiot. They make the other person in the story the loser or the bumbling fool. And that's what I would always say, like Greg Giraldo was great at that, where he would be talking politics and he would get his point across, but he would make himself the idiot of the story. And that's how you are able to get certain points or ideas across, by making yourself relatable, bringing yourself down to the audience's level, whatever that might be. But I should have said earlier in the program, this is a 40-minute album and we'll probably spend an hour talking about it. So I should have warned you earlier, but bail now if you're not prepared for that.
They don't complain so much on this program about that.
That's true. That's true.
But yeah, Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure basically stole that joke.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, Socrates was in the movie, and they called him Socrates.
Well, he has a lot of stuff. I think there's an even better or more glaring example later. But he has a lot of stuff where you're like, oh shit, did he originate that? And that's, I think, the mark of a lot of these grades. They become so big. When you get to the level of Steve Martin, people don't even know how good you are because a lot of your stuff has been co-opted. It's the same thing I say about movies that now almost feel like hack or overrated. I think overrated is the better word than hack. But movies that now will be like, oh, that was overrated. It's because everyone just quoted it to death. Just lambasted you with the same 50 quotes from that movie over and over again. And you would see them on Sports Center, and every unfunny friend you had made that their personality was quoting those movies. Steve Martin is one of those guys. You go back and listen to this album, and there's a few things where you're like, oh shit, that was a Steve Martin joke? I didn't even realize it originated there.
How terrible was it to be an arena act back then where the two most famous people were just like, fuck this, I'm done.
That's what's very interesting too, is that Steve Martin walked away and Eddie Murphy walked away. Now, I think the reason for that is a couple things. One, what we'll talk about with how you're not able to work out material when you get that big, where people just basically are trained seals. They'll applaud you no matter what you do. But also, I think the much bigger factor is Eddie Murphy and Steve Martin made a lot more money in movies than they would have touring.
Right.
And
But
that's not the case anymore. Now the money is in stand-up, oddly.
Yeah, and the fact that neither of them went back though is interesting.
Right. Like Nate Bargatze made a movie this year, and they just released how much money his tour made. And he was the highest grossing comedian, but he made $30 million less this year, which is crazy. And the quick math you can do on that is, oh well, he was filming a movie for 3 months or however long it was. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like those guys, and that movie's probably not going to make a ton of money. I hope it's good. I like Nate Bargatze, but that movie's probably not going to make anywhere near what those touring dates would have made. Like Shane Gillis would lose money if he stopped to do 3 movies in a year.
Well, he probably made enough money to provide for like 7,000 lifetimes last year, so he's probably making passion projects. Didn't he make like 80-something million last year?
Nate Bargatze made 80 million in 85, I think, maybe 80 to 85 million in 2024. In 2025, he made, I believe, 56 million. So it was a down year.
Oh, baby.
Someone probably got fired because of how much money Nate Bargatze made.
Next we have religion.
Okay, let's hear it.
It's so hard. It's so hard to believe in anything anymore. You know what I mean? It's like religion. I mean, you can't really take it seriously because it seems so mythological and it seems so arbitrary. And then on the other hand, science, it's just pure empiricism. And by virtue of its method, it excludes metaphysics. And I guess I wouldn't believe in anything if it weren't for my lucky astrology mood watch. College, you feel so small, You go to college, you study about guys like Leonardo, who did everything. A scientist, a great painter, a great architect, designer. You feel like an idiot. And I wanted to, expand my life in the way that Leonardo did, and that's why I took up juggling. I know what you're saying. You're saying, Steve, where do you find time to juggle? Well, I juggle in my mind. Whoops. Okay.
Such a brilliant joke, and fun fact, that is also the favorite joke of one stuttering John Melendez, which kind of goes back to a point I was making earlier. So take that for what you will.
Which point, Mike?
You decide. But that, like, shit like that is so. What's crazy about it is it was so different than what anyone was doing. Like the idea to have a joke like that and to be doing stuff that different that you trust the audience to go along with you. You know what I mean? Like that's what I find interesting, and it's what you owe as a comedy fan, what you owe guys like Steve Martin a debt of gratitude for, because you kind of forget when you go back and watch a lot of this stuff, whether it is like kind of alt comedy like this or guys questioning religion or any of that stuff that now seems like it's done to death. Like it's just been trampled upon ground. But back then it was edgy and like you couldn't do it on TV, certainly. And they were getting a lot of pushback for that stuff. And if you're a guy like Steve Martin or Andy Kaufman, and I don't believe that Steve Martin and Andy Kaufman, I think, belong in the same category only in this light, is that they both birthed what became like alt comedy and the ability to not just get up and be like, my wife is a real piece of work, like these different types of acts that you now see.
Yeah, that's it nowadays is my wife. What a fucking bitch.
Right. Right. But like the weird acts that you ended up getting, like I always reference a guy like Bo Burnham or, even like Weird Al or any of the like kind of off the wall bizarre stuff that came over the years. Steve Martin and Andy Kaufman, like without them, I don't know that any of that exists, because you only know stand up as this one thing. It's Bill Cosby in a suit talking about his family, you know, or maybe at best you get like George Carlin or Richard Pryor, but you never have weirdos like this without Steve Martin.
Next, we have prank.
Okay, let's hear about his wacky pranks.
I got a great dirty trick you can play on a 3-year-old kid. See, kids learn how to talk from listening to their parents. See? How's it going? See, this is a good one you can pull on. See, what you do, if you have a 3-year-old kid and you want to play a dirty trick on him, whenever you're around him, you talk wrong. So now it's like his first day in school and he raises his hand.
May I mumble dog face to the banana patch?
Give that kid a special test. Get him out.
That's the other thing too, is like, I think Steve Martin was also great at not having a perspective. Like we've had people over the years, the most famous example probably is Hannah Gadsby, who was like, you're not a real comedian if you're not talking about your trauma. And it's like, then what is this? What is this genius telling you to prank your kid by not teaching him how to speak? You know, is that like a point of view, or is it just silly and gave millions of people the ability to laugh at his nonsense?
No, he should be talking about how his boss in high school took advantage of him.
Right.
Next, we have interruption.
Oh, yeah, I think this is some crowd work here.
I went over there thinking, no problem. I don't speak any French. I'm thinking, no problem. English is a universal language. It'll be easy. So I get off the plane, get into the taxi, say to the driver, I dig baby talk. Okay. Have I started yet? I have. Okay, well then let's just keep going. Oh, so anyway, you go to Paris, France. And, well, let's go back to what I was talking about Paris, France. I remember, don't worry. No, so did I say a courtesy to speak English? I said that, okay?
It's very impressive that he's doing this big special taping and he has this kind of artistic idea for it. And there's a baby yammering in the front row. And like you can tell he's distracted by it, but like he actually helped it enhance his act. And watching Steve Martin like later in life, you got to give him credit. He's never really lost that ability to be whatever the word is, folksy and relatable in that way. He's charismatic and engaging. He seems like a friendly guy and very funny and loose, and he's never lost that. Now, when you see him on award shows or SNL or any of that stuff, he still has that ability and that casual feel about him.
Next, we have French.
Okay, he's going to teach us a little French here.
The secret to ordering food, it's all sound effects. Went into a restaurant, wanted to order milk, eggs, and ham. I'm going to go, The waiter looked at me and goes, I beg your pardon?
Okay, enough comedy jokes.
All right,
What's your move, say?
yeah, I remember when I had my first beer.
That's what I was talking about earlier.
Yeah.
There's no way that's the first time that was said, right?
I mean, show me an earlier one. I thought that was
fucking loses it.
Yeah.
So I think, is that the first time? Is that a Steve Martin joke? Because how many times have I heard that in my life?
Well, if you're listening, we challenge you to find one before 1977.
Yeah, unless he's referencing something else. But yeah, let me know, because as far as I know, that originated there, and I have heard that 11,000 all through college. It was just a throwaway line that people used all the time. I remember my first beer. Yeah. I had no idea until listening to this album that was a Steve Martin joke.
Well, I thought that started within the last like 15 to 20 years.
I would have assumed so too, just because that's like when I heard it, I guess, probably. But
yeah,
that's what's crazy too, is I would guarantee you all the people that we heard say it, like our age, they didn't know it was a Steve Martin joke. You know,
they probably got it from their dads.
That's what I mean about that. Just like him getting into the lexicon, like him being that entrenched. That's how many people heard this album. And the only comedians that had that, like Carlin and Pryor, never even really had that. As much as they're kind of revered as the two best ever. Like the only guys that really had that were Steve Martin, Eddie Dice, maybe Cosby, I guess. I'm trying to think. I'm sure there are a few others that I'm forgetting. Let us know in the comments. But like, it really is a small handful of guys that their comedy act became part of what people quoted as much as any movie of that time. Like, it's very rare. You know, I guess Carlin did have the 730 words. What am I saying? But
oh yeah,
I forgot about that. Maybe the biggest ever. But you know what I mean? Where like it became a quote that you don't even associate with the person. That's very rare for that era of comedy.
Next, we have Banjo.
You know, it's funny to hear him refer to it this way because of what happened later in his career. But he starts strumming his banjo on stage, and these are the jokes that go along with it.
I just made that up. I don't think it's going to be big hit. I did making this up, man. This is the creativity in action, you know? Because it's not often that you can pay $4 to see someone jack off like this, right?
Just calling it jacking off and like making fun of it that way. And then the fact that he later became like he's at the Grammys because he's nominated for a Bluegrass Award.
Yeah. He lost to Peter Schickola.
Yeah, right. He probably did. But it is funny just that like that is how things change over time, where you can tell he obviously has some banjo talent. So like deep down, he probably thought he wanted to be a musician. He thought he could have talent as a musician. But there's a self-consciousness to comedians where you're like, imagine watching me like fucking jerk off up here. Like I'm some kind of asshole. Could you imagine if I was serious? But like, as we found out later in his career with all his banjo playing, it's like, oh no, he really wanted to do that. He thought, like, deep down, he was just an insecure boy making fun of himself, so you couldn't make fun of him first. You know,
low key hoping for a record deal when he walked out.
He really was. The other takeaway from that clip: $4 for a Steve Martin ticket.
Crazy. No wonder why there's a kid there.
Unbelievable.
Next, we have Disclosure.
Okay. That's the other thing too. I just want to say real quick about like ticket prices now. Not only are these guys arena acts now, try getting Shane Gillis ticket for less than $150. I dare you. I fucking dare you. It's not possible.
By the way, it's a new law now. I have to do this. I don't like to, but it is by law. All comedians must make a financial disclosure during the show or at some point. So I have to do this comedian's financial disclosure in accordance with the unilateral code established by Stephen Martin on this day. This disclosure is presented. Okay, a lot of percentages. Manager and agent, 30 to 35%. Road expenses, usually 10 to 20%. Development of new material, 0.0000001%. I've written that all up in a little pie graph here. Then over here I have a rubber chicken graph. Then I figured out potential concert income. If you fill a 3,000 seat hall at $3 per ticket, The gross is $9,000. If you fill a 3,000 seat hall at $750 per ticket, the gross is $22,500. And just for fun, I figured out if you fill a 3,000 seat hall at $800 a ticket, gross is $2,400,000. And this is what I'm shooting for. One show. Goodbye.
Funny. Hold on, go back real quick because I want to hear the end of that clip again. But it's so funny. He throws out $800 as like this absurd ticket price. Go look for a Sebastian Maniscalco ticket, and at a certain point, like if you look long enough, you'll be like, all right, $800 is reasonable. Like that's not bad, you know.
You're right up against the stage.
But let me hear the end of this clip again, just because it takes us to the next part of the album.
The gross is $22,500. And just for fun, I figured out if you fill a 3,000 seat hall at $800 a ticket, gross is $2,400,000. And this is what I'm shooting for. One show. Goodbye.
You hear the audience shift there to now where it's a stadium of screaming people. And we move over to Red Rocks in Colorado, where that's like, that is now, it's become like a comedy club. Like, there's 40 comedians that'll play there in a year. But back then it was like, holy shit, he's doing Red Rocks. And like I said, what's even crazier about it is this is before The Jerk came out. So like, this is not even movie star Steve Martin yet.
And now, let's repeat the nonconformist oath. I promise to be different. I promise to be unique. I promise not to repeat things other people say. Good.
A lot of ladies there.
Yeah.
Crazy.
It really is, because now he's at the point, and this is why this was the massive change, I think, for Steve Martin, and Eddie Murphy came to this point also, where it's like there's a lot of people in that audience that he'll say, I want to be unique. And like when he finishes that joke, they're like, I don't get it. Why was that funny? You know what I mean? Like now there's a lot of people in the audience that aren't there because they love Steve Martin. They're there because it's a thing to do. They're not necessarily Steve Martin fans anymore. Obviously, he's getting massive applause, but like he's now at the level where people bring a group of friends to see Steve Martin. It's like the one thing to do in town that weekend. It's like the big event. So that, like, I think for a lot of comedians throughout time has kind of been a struggle, but the two best examples are Steve Martin and Eddie Murphy, because Steve Martin, I think, has a third album, which is the last one. And Eddie Murphy famously obviously has the two specials, and then they just walked away forever and never returned. Like Craig said earlier, that's the kind of incredible part about Steve Martin. I get, in a way, he returned to the stage. He's done that stuff with Martin Short over the last few years. And, you know, he's always at award shows. Are you not a Martin Short fan? What's your
I like Martin Short, but they just cannot apparently separate.
They're like Laurel and Hardy, you know, they're a comedy duo now.
Yeah.
But yeah, here's the ultimate debate about this. And you hear it a lot more with Eddie Murphy, because there's always Eddie teasing coming back, and there was that alleged Netflix deal and all that stuff. You don't hear it with Steve Martin as much. But I think they're very smart for never returning, because there's almost no way it could be as good. Like there's really no chance it could be as good, because if it's close to as good, you're like, not quite as good though. You know?
It's like, what if it is?
That's the ultimate question. But these guys are saying, why does it have to be? I've already done that. If I have something, that's the other aspect is, okay, it's as good. So I made something as good as I've already done, which means they have to be better for it to make any difference. You know what I mean? And what are the odds? I rewatched Raw around Christmas. What are the chances Eddie Murphy is going to make something better than that? It seems impossible.
I mean, you can't go in expecting that.
Well, no, but I think that's how a lot of these guys that get to that level of success, I think that's how they look at it. It's obviously not how they look at their movies. If you see some of what they've put out,
Yeah,
but like
Little 2 was great.
but when you walk away from stand up and you leave a legacy like that, they're like, I don't want to be Michael Jordan with the Wizards. You know, I don't want to have this comeback where it's like, hey, he tried. It's not bad. It's better than a lot of guys. I don't think they want to see what people saying about him.
Jordan had 50 points in his last game.
He sure did.
That's what I'm saying. Give us 50.
Well, that's what I mean. It's like that is what we want. And I think a lot of people would be grateful for that and be like, hey, that's awesome. Like, hey, it was no wild and crazy guy, but it was pretty good. You know, like if Steve Martin were to come back, but I think he looks at it a couple ways and says, well, the odds of it being good seem impossible because also Steve Martin is out of touch now. Whether you like it or not, not even his fault. Like when you are that famous for that long,
yeah,
you're going to lose touch. I don't even say that in a shitty way. Like that's just what's going to happen when you have that much money and success and you're not dealing with regular people. You don't know what they're talking about. Now, Steve Martin's act does have the benefit of he was never a relatable guy. He was playing a character, basically, you know?
Yeah.
So that is one benefit that he would have. But he also they're very big about this because Eddie Murphy has talked about it a lot too, where like where are they going to work out material? Anywhere they go, they're going to get, you know, a massive reception. They're not going to have any idea if a joke is bombing. The only way they'll know is when assholes like me talk about it on YouTube. You know,
well, they have to do more than 5 minutes. Chris Rock even said after 5 minutes, people are like, all right, make me laugh.
Yeah, I don't really believe that though.
I do.
How often is Jerry Seinfeld getting booed at the end of his? We've heard this.
No, I know, but like you'll hear the laughs at first, and they're probably getting extra, and you can probably just hear the difference. But I think if they both were to do a special now, I think Eddie Murphy has a better chance of it being funny because
I actually think the opposite.
I don't know because like he was more real, and Steve Martin was more of like a quirky character.
Yes.
So I think
that's
I don't know
exactly why I think the opposite. I think Steve Martin can get back into that character a lot easier than Eddie Murphy can get back to that real guy. Eddie Murphy's not that guy anymore. That guy.
No, but that kind of character has been overdone, so I don't think it's going to be as
that's fair.
Now.
That's fair. That's fair. There's been a million Steve Martin copycats, so it'll feel like, oh, we've seen this from fucking whoever, you know, a million other guys.
Yeah, I mean, if Eddie Murphy gets on stage and starts calling his kids like gay or something, like I'm gonna be like, I'm all in on this.
That'd be something.
Yeah, it would be.
It's gonna be F words 3.
F words revisited. Next we have Wild and Crazy.
Okay, this also might be part of why Steve Martin left, where it's like he can just quote a thing he did on SNL and listen to the fucking reaction he gets.
Sorry, just lost my mind just for a moment. But that's okay for me.
Yuck.
Wait.
Because I am a wild and crazy girl.
Holy fuck.
It's crazy.
And wild.
It gets a bigger reaction than any other joke on the special. And I do think that is in a way intentional for Steve to show not just how big and crazy his career got, but to show like, listen to all the stuff I was doing in the first half. Now I just said I'm a wild and crazy guy and I get a fucking 6-minute standing ovation.
Many people come to me and they say, hey, how can you be such a swinging sex god? Well, I'll tell you, it's not because I can make love up to 1 time a night. It's not because I said the things a woman wants to hear, like, are you through yet? It's because I know how to read a woman. If she is like a cat, I have kitty litter. If she is like a dog, we do it on the paper.
There's good jokes in there, and for the time, like the character was good and everything. And maybe I'm putting too much commentary on it. Maybe if you ask Steve Martin, he'd just be like, "Oh no, I thought it was cool that I got big, so I was like, hey, here's my show at Red Rocks." But to me, what it symbolizes is like, look at all this brilliant material I did in the first half that got like a decent response. And now I'm getting the same reaction that at that time the fucking Rolling Stones would get, you know, just for doing an accent and saying my catchphrase.
I prefer the first half for sure.
Definitely. And I think most comedy fans do. And I think that was intentionally done by Steve Martin. Like I said, maybe I'm putting too much on it in hindsight. But to me, that is what this represents, is like, hey, you know, listen to what it could be. Is that actually what you want as a comedian? And like I said, I think the comedian Steve Martin struggled with that, and it's why he never got back on stage, at least solo.
But that kind of reaction wouldn't happen now. Most people would be like, what the fuck's he doing?
I mean, it would be a much older crowd. They're not woo girls anymore at a Steve Martin show. But he'd get a good reaction.
Imagine if Lewis pulled it off and he was like the next surprise at Skankfest.
It would be weird. People would be like, "What the fuck?"
Whoa! Like,
Jesus!
It's like I gotta call my dad.
That's where Eddie Murphy should try F Words 3.
Oh, it'd be a massive. Next we have Dirty Talk.
Okay.
Now this doesn't happen very often, but about 3 weeks ago, I met a girl, and she was real nice, and she invited me to her apartment. So I went over there, and she had the best pussy I have ever seen.
Oh, now come on! I'm talking about her cat. Now that makes me sick right there. No, you can't say anything anymore that people don't take it dirty, and I'm sorry, that disgusts me.
That cat was the best fuck I ever had.
Hey, good for him, because he's still doing the same material. He's actually doing more crass material in front of the bigger audience, which I appreciate.
We've got women fainting left and right at this.
The reaction is crazy.
Yeah.
I'd be curious, like, does that crowd, do they think the opposite of us? You know what I mean? Like, the people that are going there to woo instead of laugh at Steve Martin, do they listen to the album and go, oh, the first half kind of sucks, it seems like he's bombing, and then the second half is really great, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I wonder if there's a difference there in the perception of like diehard comedy fans versus people just looking to have a good time, you know?
I'm sure the women that are wooing like that are much bigger fans of the second half.
Right.
But we are at his closer.
Oh my God, this flew by. We might have matched the runtime of Wild and Crazy Guy. That's pretty rare.
We've gone longer.
Okay, all right. Phew. All right, so let's hear how this culminates.
One last thing, if you bought my album and you came down here expecting me to do a lot of routines from the record and I didn't do them, maybe one or two, there's a reason for that. I think performers have to move on. You just can't do the same old material over and over and over, and it's kind of a cheat, I think, to rely on the same stuff. And if you don't agree with me, well, excuse me!
Again, that's where Steve Martin's a really interesting guy, is he's playing to everyone. Where if you want to just pause real quick.
I was just figured you would just talk because it's just crowd noise for the rest of this clip.
Oh, for the rest of it? I think, then I'll explain how it ends. Yeah, you can keep playing it, I guess. He appeals to everyone. He appeals to everyone in that the people that want to go, he said the thing. He said his thing, his catchphrase. He said, "Excuse me." I know that guy. Like they can cheer at that, and it's also commentary on. I'm just doing the same horse shit up here at times. You know what I mean?
I think you're onto something with your theory.
That's where I think Steve Martin's a really interesting guy, and like he's introspective and thoughtful, and he's also able to not let that get in the way of his comedy, which is tremendous. But like he tips his cap at the people to get it. You know what I mean? Like he nods to the people who want to understand it, and the people who don't, who just want to turn their brain off and hear him do the SNL accent, they can also enjoy it.
One of the greatest art exhibits ever to tour the United States.
This the treasures of Tutankhamun or King Tut.
We'll talk over this so it stays on YouTube.
I never fucking understood this song.
I didn't either.
How to get so funky?
It's catchy.
It is very catchy. More proof that he just wanted to be a musician.
So I just wanted to show that that's how it plays the full song, and then you hear a little more of the Red Rocks reaction. But it does end there to where I'm like, oh, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm putting too much. I'm thinking too much about the deeper commentary of this album, because I never fucking understood King Tut. I don't get why it's funny. I don't get the punchlines in it. It never made sense to me. So maybe it's just it was dated to me or something. Like if you're someone who grew up on this album or you love that song or whatever, explain to me why it was funny. But again, it may also be this thing where it's like, here's where my career is at now, that I can just do that, whatever this is.
King Tut's fine, but it's
walk off of Red Rocks.
It's King Tut is fine, but it's no Craig Christ, that's for sure.
Sure, absolutely. But it takes a lot, I think, to be at that level and not just put out the entire Red Rocks set, you know?
Yeah.
Because in your mind, you would be like, I'm fucking killing. Listen to them. They love me. And that's at the end of, I'm sure, an hour that he did, you know, that we just heard at Red Rocks. But for Steve Martin to say, no, I want to let people hear how it sounds in a comedy club, and that can appeal to the comedy fans that liked my first album. I think that's meaningful, and I think it's a great piece of comedy history. And I think Steve Martin did such a great job with it, and like covering Steve Martin on this show has made me appreciate his place, and also like reading his book and all that stuff has made me appreciate his place in comedy so much more. Because I remember as a kid, I was just like, he's a guy that I don't really get. Everyone says he's a legend, but like, yeah, I don't know. The movies that I saw weren't for me. I mean, when I was a kid, I was like, yeah, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles is good. Yeah, but I don't know why that makes him a genius, you know? And now I understand it much more.
I wish he reversed it and opened with the Red Rocks, and he was like, all right, now that horse shit's out of the way, let's get to the good.
Yeah. But either way. Well, I think the other symbolism is, here's where I'm at now. This is where I was in the comedy club.
Oh, yeah, no, I understand what he was doing, but
here's where I am now, and there's no turning back, you know?
Your theory is right.
Yeah.
He was like, this is me being a sellout.
Yeah.
And this is, I still have it, just so you know.
Yeah. And by the way, like, sellout is not even in a bad way. What was he going to do? You know, at that time, just turn down all the money he was going to make.
Yeah, I don't know if like they could even technically sell out because no one knew where it was going yet.
Right. You're just like, oh, I'm playing a bigger venue. Like you hear that bit where it's like him calculating the money he could make, and then he was actually able to do that. You know,
crazy.
So yeah, shout out to Steve Martin, a true legend and a trailblazer in comedy. And that really is, I think, an influential album for what a lot of other people did. And by the way, if you listen to it too, the other thing I was impressed with, I don't think I gave this enough credit, the audio quality. Well, and I don't know if we played enough of it for you to really get it, but like when you hear that transition from comedy club to Red Rocks, it's seamless. but it sounds like so crisp where you hear just gradually the audience get bigger. It's impressive that they were able to do that in 78. I thought it sounded very good. So
Well, before I realized what was happening,
yeah,
when I was cutting the clips, I was like, what the fuck? Where did these people come from? And then I put it together.
they're just very late.
Yeah. We need to get warmed up.
Yeah. So eventually we will do these out of order and we will get to Let's Get Small, another legendary Steve Martin album. But until then, you guys let me know. I can't speak anymore. You guys let me know what you'd like us to cover. Give us suggestions. I've got plenty of ideas coming up, but I would always like to hear more in case maybe there's something I haven't thought of. So let us know. Send me a message on Twitter, Instagram, Patreon, or just comment on this video on YouTube or Spotify. And we appreciate you guys supporting the show. Support us wherever you get podcasts. Like, subscribe, comment, and consider becoming a member to get early access and bonus content. All those links are at blindmike.net. And go to Very Good Show. Much like Steve Martin, on Very Good Show, they do things that in 30 or 40 years we'll be going, oh, that's what they were saying there.
And you guys are going to want us to come back, but we just can't, man.
That's the other thing. Like, where's Matt Sanford? What's he up to? Is he going to return to the mic?
I miss Mike Harris.
We all do. That's true. Mike Harris, former member of this show. So shout out to him. I forget about that sometimes.
I know.
But yeah, verygoodshow.org, blindmike.net. We appreciate you guys supporting the show. And we'll talk to you next time on Why Are You Laughing?
Zip it up and zip it out.